Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're wrestling with, well, one of humanity's oldest questions, really. If God is just, why does evil so often seem to win? You know? And, what's the deal with the promised reckoning? What are we meant to do?
That's exactly it. That's the mission today. We've gathered four pretty distinct texts that give us a kind of framework for dealing with that disappointment.
Yeah.
And maybe turning that waiting, that anticipation into, well, action.
Yeah, we're not just looking for easy answers here. We're digging into ancient prophecy from Malachi, some apostolic advice on just, living day to day from 2 Thessalonians.
The poetic vision of the Psalms, Psalm 97 and 98
Right.
specifically, and then Jesus' own words in Luke 21 about the end times is quite a mix.
It is. And
So-
the goal is to find some practical unifying lessons, right? About how to wait, how to persevere.
Exactly. The big takeaway really is that this waiting isn't passive at all. It's maybe the most active thing you can do.
Okay, so let's start where the problem often starts, with disillusionment. Malachi, he's writing roughly 450 BC.
Yeah, around then.
Yeah.
After the return from exile. And people are just discouraged. Even the priests in Jerusalem.
And the complaint is basically, life's unfair.
Right.
The wicked are prospering, the faithful are struggling. They're asking, what's the point? Has God just, forgotten about us?
It's a deep cynicism setting in. A feeling that history is just, going in circles. A perpetual recommencement, as the source puts it. Malachi's role was to shake things up.
To galvanize energies.
Exactly. To insist that, no, history is going somewhere. There is a destination. And the day of the Lord, his coming, it's approaching.
But then he uses this image.
Right.
Wow, the day of the Lord burning like a furnace. That sounds terrifying, like pure destruction.
It does on the surface, but you absolutely have to read it in context. The material really stresses this. Malachi starts the book with, I love you and I am Father.
Okay, so if love is the starting point,
Then the furnace can't just be a threat. It has to signify something else. The source calls it the incandescence of infinite love. Imagine being totally immersed in this, well, sun of love.
that changes things a lot. But why does it still burn? If it's love, why the fire?
Well, think about the physical sun,
Yeah.
right? It can give life, warmth, healing, or it can scorch and burn. Depends what it shines on. Malachi says the spiritual sun works the same way.
A double action.
Precisely.
Mm.
For the arrogant, the impious, those who sort of actively push back against love, yeah, it consumes them, turns them into chaff, like straw in a fire.
But for those who fear God's name, which isn't about being scared, right?
No. The material clarifies it means those who humbly reflect God's love, who anticipate it, who are open to it. For them, that same sun brings healing in its radiance.
So the judgment, the fire, it's more like sorting.
Exactly. It's fundamentally a purification operation.
Mm.
Not destruction, but refinement. The text gives these great analogies. Think of a launderer, a blanchisseur.
Okay.
Their job isn't to destroy the fancy tablecloth, right? It's to get the stains out so the whole thing is radiant again. The stain is the problem, not the cloth.
Right, the obstacle to love.
Exactly. Or think of a founder, a refiner working with gold or silver. They use intense heat.
Not to destroy it, but to burn off the impurities.
Precisely. So the pure metal, the jewel, can radiate with all its beauty. It's an internal triaging, the arrogance, the hard stuff that resists love, that burns away. But the good seed, the potential, that gets transfigured.
So really, if we're open to that refinement now, there's nothing to fear from that day.
That's the implication. Submit to the process.
Okay, Malachi gives us this hopeful, if intense, view of the ultimate outcome, purification. But what about now? What about Monday morning? While we're waiting, the cynical folks might still seem to be winning. Why bother with the daily grind?
Yes, the practicalities. And that brings us right to Paul in 2 Thessalonians, and probably one of his most controversial lines.
So what about work and eating?
That's the one. If someone does not want to work, let them not eat either. And boy, if you take that out of context today, it sounds incredibly harsh, judgmental even.
It really does, but you're saying context is everything here. Who were these idle ones Paul was talking to?
Crucial point. He was not talking about people who couldn't find work, like our modern unemployed.
Right.
Paul himself was a tent maker. He found work pretty easily in Thessalonica and Corinth. That suggests work was generally available.
So what was their issue?
These folks, the oasis, the source calls them, they were basically pretexting the imminent coming of the kingdom of God to go on holiday, using the end times as an excuse to slack off.
So spiritual excitement turning into practical laziness, leading this disordered life, busy without doing anything.
Exactly. They were mooching off the community, essentially. And Paul sees this as a real problem. a lack of faith in the present.
And Paul himself, he practiced what he preached, right?
Absolutely. He talks about working night and day in toil and hardship. He calls it acharnement au travail, fierce dedication. He did this partly not to be a burden, sure, but also so he had the credibility, the authority to call out the others.
Okay, so that's one reason. Don't be lazy, pull your weight. But the material suggests there's a deeper, more theological reason for Paul's emphasis on work.
Yes, absolutely. This is fascinating. The second reason is the idea that work itself is kingdom building.
How so?
The idea is that this world, our current reality, even though it's a temporary in its present form, it's the actual raw material God uses to build his kingdom. It goes right back to Genesis, doesn't it? Dominate the earth and subdue it.
So our work, building, creating, teaching, caring, whatever it is, it's not just making a living, it's participating in God's project.
That's the perspective. The source quotes it beautifully. When you work, you accomplish a part of the earth's dream. And that other amazing line, work is love made visible.
Wow. Work is love made visible. That reframes everything from washing dishes to writing code.
It does. If the work, even mundane work, is done as an act of love, contributing to the good, then it's participating in the kingdom's arrival.
Which connects back to timing. If our work is part of the plan, maybe it even speeds things up.
Well, think about those verses about God's patience a day being like 1,000 years. Why the delay? The text suggests it's because God wants everyone to come to conversion.
Okay.
So if we grasp that, if we understand our role in conversion and in building, then suddenly we don't have a minute to lose. Our work, our actions, our love made visible becomes this strategic way to, yes, hasten the day.
That urgency makes sense. If our actions matter that much, then commitment is key, which leads us, maybe inevitably, to the challenges that come with commitment. And that takes us to Luke 21.
Right. Jesus has just predicted the utter destruction of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, not stone upon stone, will be left.
And the disciples immediately ask the questions we still ask, don't we?
Yeah.
When? What will be the sign? They want a schedule, a checklist.
They want precise predictions. But Jesus, well, he deflects. The source points out that prophetic discourse isn't really about search and telling. It's predication. It's meant to equip people, to help them navigate the trials they are facing or will face.
So less about predicting the future, more about preparing for it.
Exactly. And Jesus tells them basically, don't get distracted. Don't chase after false Christs. Don't freak out over wars, earthquakes, famines, plagues, scary stuff in the sky. Those things will happen, but they aren't the sign for you.
So what is the sign they should focus on?
The unavoidable trial, persecution. He's very direct. He says, before the end comes, you will face trials, being dragged into synagogues, prisons, put before governors and kings.
In the betrayal. That's rough. Betrayed by parents, siblings, relatives, friends.
It's a stark warning. Commitment to this path, to building the kingdom, it often involves profound suffering and opposition, even from those closest to you.
And he doesn't sugarcoat it. He says they will put some of you to death. That's chilling.
It is, but then almost in the same breath, he gives this incredible assurance, not one hair of your head will be lost.
How do those two things fit together? Being put to death, but not losing a hair.
It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it? It links back to that purification idea in Malachi. The source explains it means our whole being, body and soul, everything that makes us us, is ultimately safe in God's hand.
So physical harm, even death can happen.
Yes, the suffering is real. But it can't touch our core identity, our life in God. It's an assurance of life through death. Nothing ultimately can separate us from that divine love and protection. Our essential self is secure.
Wow. Okay. So knowing this intense opposition might come, what's the core instruction?
Perseverance. Simple as that. It is by your perseverance that you will save your life. Hold steady. Endure.
But it's not just gritting your teeth, is it? There's more to it.
Right? It's an act of confidence. He tells them, don't even worry about preparing a defense when you're hauled before the authorities.
Because Christ will give them the words.
Exactly. He promises to provide the wisdom, the language, that their opponents just won't be able to refute or resist. Their steadfast trust, their perseverance itself, becomes the powerful testimony.
Okay, so we've gone from the initial cynicism through Malachi's fiery purification, Paul's call to practical kingdom-building work, and Luke's warning about perseverance through suffering. Where does it all lead? What's the end game?
That's where the Psalms come back in, specifically Psalm 97 and 98. They give us this breathtaking vision of the ultimate goal. Universal harmony, creation renewed.
It's the payoff for all the waiting and working and persevering.
It really is. It paints a picture that's the complete opposite of the chaos and injustice we started with.
And it's not just people celebrating, is it? The songs bring in, well, everything.
The whole cosmos. That's what's so striking. The entire creation joins in this joyful celebration. They sing, they shout. The word is teroa, like a victory cry.
Who's involved?
The text lists them. The sea and its richness, the world and its inhabitants, the rivers and the mountains. Think about that, rivers clapping their hands, mountains singing for joy. Nature itself is liberated into harmony.
That ties into Paul's idea of God planning to reunite the entire universe, doesn't it? And that vision in Isaiah.
Isaiah 11, yeah. The wolf and the lamb living together. Justice and faithfulness covering the earth. It's that same picture of total reconciliation and peace.
Now, something interesting about the Psalms, the source notes, is the tense they use.
Yes, it's fascinating. They often speak as if God's reign has already happened. The Lord comes to govern the earth. Present tense, why?
It's like declaring it into existence.
Yeah.
Because they're so sure it will happen.
That's exactly the feeling. It's anticipation stated as accomplished fact. Their confidence comes from looking back. God rescued them from Egypt. God made and kept promises.
So if God was faithful then, God will be faithful now.
Right. They are absolutely certain that God will ultimately deliver everyone from hatred, injustice, all the chains that bind. It's guaranteed. The fulfillment is inevitable, so the waiting is just, well, a matter of delay.
Singing those psalms today then isn't just wishful thinking. It's an act of faith, declaring that victory even while we're still waiting.
It transforms waiting from anxiety into this active, joyful proclamation of what we know is coming. #tag outro outrub.
What a journey. We started with that frankly terrifying furnace in Malachi, but saw it as the purifying fire of infinite love.
Then we saw Paul demanding this fierce, dedicated work, not just for survival, but as a way to actually hasten that day of purification and love.
And Luke reminding us that this dedication, this work, it won't be easy. It demands perseverance through real suffering and betrayal, but with this underlying promise of ultimate safety.
Yeah, not a hair of your head will be lost.
Leading finally to that guaranteed cosmic harmony we see in the songs where all creation rejoices. It feels like a really unified picture, actually.
It really converges, doesn't it? That day of God isn't just some future event we brace for. It's also an internal process, that refinement that we participate in now through our commitment.
What Malachi called fearing God, that openness to love.
It's kind of the same engine driving what Paul calls work and what Luke calls perseverance.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same integrated effort of love and service.
So, if we take seriously that idea that the timing depends, at least partly, on us, because God is patiently waiting, wanting everyone to come to conversion.
And if our work truly is love made visible, part of realizing God's dream for creation,
Then here's maybe the final thought to carry with you from this deep dive. What's one thing, one immediate concrete action, maybe even a small one, that you could do this week?
that would feel like genuinely hastening that ultimate harmony. What act of work or service or perseverance done purely out of love could be your contribution to accelerating God's reign right here, right now?
Something to think about. Until next time on The Deep Dive.